What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like, subscribe as you tune into the channel, check out the content, right? And with that being said, man, I want to talk about something that I was thinking about this recently. And although there has been a lot of players and different people, well, I want to speak on the players. There have been a lot of players or a few players that came out and really spoke about some of the things that LeBron James has said. And for the most part, most players don't really speak out about that, right? And and to the fans, I don't know if like to most fans, people think that these players are afraid of LeBron James and don't really want to speak out. But part of what we don't get as fans or we don't think about all the time is the NBA is scripted, right? And so as a player and an athlete, if you're fortunate enough to make it onto an NBA roster, you will quickly find out that playing in the NBA is more so political. And you're there as an athlete, no matter how hard you work and what route you took to get there, you're there because somebody chose you, right? Because I have even seen where there have been guys who really were good and didn't even make teams, or really were good and didn't get off the bench and was really good and had to change like what role they play on a team, is because the the team didn't want you for that, right? If the team say you're not going to be, the next Jordan, you're going to be the next Bruce Bowen, you're going to be a defensive specialist. And if you want to be on the team, then that's what you're going to be. So it's not always up to the player. You have a role, and the team and the league, they give you a role. And NBA players, they know this, and they realize this really early in their career. That it's not just all about your playing ability. Like, you might feel like you can come down the court and score every time. But if they don't want you to do that, if that's not the role that they carved out for you, then you won't do that. You won't be on the team, be able to do that. You'll have to play the role that they want you to do. I remember Steven Jackson, he played for the Spurs, right? And he was saying that Popovich told him that he really wasn't going to be able to get any time unless he shot threes and played better defense, right? But coming into the league, that was not his game. He was more of a scorer and a slasher, Steven Jackson. But he had to become, almost a three-point specialist if he wanted to be in the league. Same thing with like Ray Allen. Ray Allen had to, like Ray Allen coming out of where he came from, UConn, right? Ray Allen was more of a scorer and a slasher. Then his game developed into a three-point shooter, because that's the role that the teams that he played for wanted him to fulfill, right? So why am I saying this? Like, what does this have to do with speaking out against LeBron? So if the league has that kind of control on your career, then that means that you have to follow suit in order to be in the league. So if the league says that LeBron James is the face of the league, and you want to be somebody who is who's outspoken, and you want to speak truth to power, then what the league will do is they will have you can say what you want to say, but the league will have you looking like a disgruntled employee and a malcontent. And I've seen that, like, with players. I've seen Carmelo Anthony go through things like this, right? Like, the league will put different stuff out about him, and really you can't say anything because the league, they control the narrative, and you can say that's not true. They could, they try to say that Carmelo Anthony was selfish, and some things they said about Carmelo Anthony. And if the league want that narrative to be out there, really ain't nothing you can do. So when they say that LeBron James is the GOAT, then the players around the league need to they feel like they have to, they got to follow suit and stay on code. Don't go off script. And so just I think it was the other day or yesterday, Donovan Mitchell at the Cleveland Cavaliers, Donovan Mitchell, and what was his teammate name? Something Tyson or Tyson something, right? They asked about LeBron James, like what LeBron James meant to the city of Cleveland. And so this guy came on, and he said, this is Donovan Mitchell town now, right? Now, he took a big chance, in saying that and going off script, because when the media asks a question like that, it's like leading, like they want a certain answer. They're trying to promote a certain narrative. But when you go off script like that, I believe that's going to make that young man a target. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to see what his name was, because he's Donovan Mitchell's teammate. Donovan Mitchell was getting ready to give the politically correct answer and say that, LeBron, the regular old company line that, LeBron James is big to the league. He big to the town of Cleveland and, and all that stuff. Right. But the guy went off code. He went off script. And he said that, yeah, this is this Donovan Mitchell team, basically saying we ain't worried about LeBron. We don't care about LeBron. This is Donovan Mitchell's team. Right. And I know it used to happen a lot with Michael Jordan, and I remember being young and people, Ron Harper, was it Ron Harper? No, I'm sorry, Dirk Harper. He played for the New York Knicks. And they was interviewing him just before the playoffs. They was going to play Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. And they was asking him about Michael Jordan, like, what does it feel like to play against Michael Jordan? Now, anybody else, like the competitive nature, and you like, man, I don't care about playing against Michael Jordan. I'm gonna go out there and do what I do. Just like, you would hear people in a boxing match say the same thing, right? You're a competitor, that's who you're competing against. You're gonna give him your toughest game. I don't care who it is. But he had to big up Michael Jordan because that's what the media and the press wanted him to say. And so I always thought that was phony, right? And I never realized until I got older why, players did that. I'm like, wow, man. Even if somebody asked those guys about Larry Bird, like, you had to go with the company line, whether you like Larry Bird or not. You're not going to go on TV and say, man, Larry Bird's slow and he can't play no defense. Who did that? I think Dennis Rodman, and it was Dennis Rodman for the Detroit Pistons and Isaiah Thomas. I think Dennis Rodman made a statement that said Larry Bird was just an average white guy, something like that. And if he was a black guy, they wouldn't make a big deal about him, right? And I think Isaiah Thomas kind of co-signed that, but Isaiah Thomas got in trouble for that, right? Because they went off code. That might have been how they really felt about Larry Bird. And the league didn't want them to say that. So both of those, especially Isaiah Thomas, I think Isaiah Thomas really got in trouble for that. Although Isaiah Thomas didn't make the statement about Larry Bird, he just agreed with what Dennis Rodman was saying. So once you get on that NBA team and you're on that court, man, you got to stay on code. You got to be on script because it's all scripted. And even down to the fact that Michael Jordan, like everything about Michael Jordan, a lot about his career was scripted. And I didn't want to, now don't get me wrong. Michael Jordan was, in my opinion, the greatest basketball player ever, because even though they, made him the GOAT, Michael Jordan still worked hard for that. He still put in the work. So he worked hand in hand with the league and with the sponsors and stuff like that. And he earned everything that they gave him, basically. Whereas though he didn't just get a title and just run with it and just say, I'm the GOAT just because they say I'm the GOAT. Mike worked for it. Same, just like Kobe and Magic and Bird, all those guys worked for whatever they got. So it didn't make it so bad that everything was scripted, right? But today's NBA, guys will get something, they'll get in a position, and they're not putting in that work. So they're not even, it's like being a good actor, right? When you get a good actor or a good script, you got to have both. You got to have a good actor and a good script in order for that movie to be successful. Now, you can have a good script and the lead actor just go out there and say the words without no emotion or no passion, and they don't fool you into believing that you're really watching a movie. And that's what, being in the NBA is like. You got to fool the fans into believing that they're really watching a movie. And that's what the great basketball players did, like Magic, Bird, Mike, and Kobe. Like, they really fooled the public into believing that, you know, it's not scripted. Same thing, like I say with like Ray Lewis and Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Like, all of this stuff is scripted because it's entertainment, right? And so by being entertainment, you need great actors. If you're gonna be, if you're gonna be in the business of entertaining people, you got to get great actors. And so that's why these players, man, they don't go off script, because they understand that it's like they could be putting their NBA future in risk if they go off script. So it's all scripted though, man. And that's why these players hesitate to go off script and say anything bad about LeBron. Although you see people like more often, more and more often people are going off script. Maybe they getting the green light. I don't know, or they feel more comfortable going off script. But we'll see, what's going to happen with these people who go off script. But basically, it is, you got, I don't know if you don't have a good script or you just don't have good actors now in the league. But either way, the product that's out there on the court is not really, in my opinion, up to par what it used to be. So that's my take on it, man. Just a little something for people to consider and keep in mind when watching, not just the NBA, but you watching the NFL, any professional sport, man. It's all scripted because it's entertainment. And if it don't make dollars, then it don't make sense. So that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, with that being said, don't forget to leave a comment, and I'll check you all out in the next video. Peace.